Seneca, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayugas, the fighting that was going on and killing each other and, nonstop. They went, the Peacemaker and Kanien'kehá went to each of the nations. They went to the worst of the people first. This is how my uncle has explained it to me. The Peacemaker and Kanien'kehá went to the very worst of the people, the Iroquois people first. They were the Kanien'kehá, the Mohawk. They went to the Mohawk and told them to join in this way of peace, and after a lot of convincing, they did. The Mohawk joined this way. And they went to each of the villages of these five nations until they finally, everyone accepted, and then the Taradaho, which is a different story there, but the Taradaho accepted it, and he's Onondaga, and Taradaho is the leader of, we became the leader of the Haudenosaunee after this event. After everyone had accepted the Kanien'kehá, the great law of peace, that Kanien'kehá that the peacemaker came with, they took their tools, their not tools, their weapons, and buried them under this great white pine, and that white pine became the symbol of peace for the Haudenosaunee. So much so that it's even inside of their wampum belt, called the Kanien'kehá belt. Fast forward from that time to the 1750s in Philadelphia, the Mohawk and Onondaga and Seneca planted a tree of peace in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, which has historically been known as Unami, one of the portions of Lenape people's lands, not Haudenosaunee land. My reason for bringing these points up, though it's not referring specifically to northern Pennsylvania, in which Tioga is situated, it does show the Mohawk, Onondaga, and Seneca, the Iroquois people, the Haudenosaunee, venturing very far away from their written territories. Now, we had many roads in the olden days. Many of the old Indian trails, you can call them, actually became our state roads today and our highways and interstates. Among these roads, which were used by the natives, specifically the Haudenosaunee, it went through Tioga. From the Mohawk Valley, this road the area of a village called Kanien'kehá. This village of Kanien'kehá was one of the largest Mohawk villages situated on the Mohawk River there, near Albany, New York. From the Mohawk River, it stretched westward, going towards Onondaga territory, where this road would then join with others coming from all of the Iroquois Confederacy territories, and would branch down southwards, where it would meet at the forks at the Tioga, and from there would go southward through Philadelphia, going even into Virginia and the Carolinas. This road was initially used for trade, for there was a lot of trade being done with the Iroquois peoples in the south, as well as the Algonquin people who lived all and still live today, all in between on this road. Algonquin people such as the Lenape, Mohegan, Pequots, etc., etc. We also have a Mohawk Trail branching west from New York, going into Vermont and then into Massachusetts, called the Mohawk Trail. So we see these trails, and we can see the migration for travel and later for war as well as for marriage and things like this. Um, we can see the evidence when we look all around us, even though something may not be written out in black and white in a book per se, and it is. And in those slim times that it isn't written down, we need someone to then write them down. I digress. It's something else that we can see, rather, another big way that we can tell there was a lot of movement back and forth with the Haudenosaunee is the Tuscarora. When the Tuscarora, who are originally, well, at the time of contact, rather, were settled in the Carolinas area. Carolinas, south of the Chesapeake Bay region. They were enemies with the Cherokee people, and they were at war with the Cherokee. The Cherokee were made allies with the new settlers who came from Europe here. So what began to happen is, whenever the Cherokee would defeat some of the Tuscarora, they would capture them and make them slaves, which was common for us to do. It was common for us to take prisoners. And when we would take those prisoners, we would then assimilate them into our tribe. And they would get rid of who they were. So as an example, Kanien'kehá, who I mentioned earlier, his mother was a Mohawk woman who was taken as a slave, a captive, by the Onondaga. She was assimilated into the Onondaga society, and Kanien'kehá was not considered a Mohawk, but was himself considered Onondaga. Likewise, with the Tuscarora and the Cherokee would take Tuscarora as captives, and then those Tuscarora would become Cherokee. This is the way that our captive system worked. Unfortunately, when the Cherokee began to give these captives to the English, uh, it wasn't done quite the same way. They were made slaves in the Western, the current understanding of a slave. This was happening so much that the Tuscarora sent runners to the Mohawk and asked the Mohawk if they could come to the Mohawk territory and have safe passage there because of what was happening. And it was voted on, and that's essentially how they became the sixth nation of the Haudenosaunee. The road that the Tuscarora then took, there's two different roads that they took, but one of those roads is the same road that passed through Tioga. This was a very well known, very well used Iroquoian trade route, and not just Iroquoian, but it was, at this time, it was in their territory. Now, the territory itself of Tioga, the territory itself of Tioga was not per se in the heart of the Kanien'kehá, the Mohawk people. It was one of those areas that was used for trade and such, and it was territory that was taken from the people who were actually from there. In the old days, all of that area of Pennsylvania going just west of the Susquehanna River was Lenape lands. The word itself, Susquehanna, is a Lenape word, meaning the black river, the dark river, the muddy, nasty, dirty river. Then some Mohawk came from the north, and these Mohawk we call